Hi and welcome to my small little office. I'm sitting here on my couch and want to share my experience regarding devices which allows you to take your notes digitally. So when my physical notebook was full, I decided to switch to something new. Instead of buying another one and storing the old one in my cupboard and never look at it again. Sometimes you have to look things up, and it would be nice if you have your notes digitally. I don't want to carry around a laptop all the time and typing stuff, and especially if you do one-on-one with your colleagues, then you don't want to have something in between and you have to type on a keyboard. So I tried to figure out which device you can buy, which features a pen, and yeah, allows me to take my notes digitally. Finally, I found two devices which I can use for that purpose. One of them is the Onyx Boox Note 2 and the other one is the Surface Go 2. Both devices are pretty new. The Boox Note 2 is an e-ink device, so it's pretty much a big Kindle, which features a pen. And since I have to decide between those two, I will let you know about the drawbacks of this device as well. So one of them is they just put that cheap, tiny, flickery pen in the package. I don't know why. Jumping to the Surface pen, it's made of metal, it's a little bit heavier, okay, but it feels like a pen and my fingers don't hurt if I use it for a longer time. That's great. I don't know why they do this. There are better pens out there. They could just make it a little bit bigger. The device itself, you can use it for note taking. It runs Android 9, so if you have the Play Store activated, you can pretty much install every Google Android application you can imagine. Most of the applications, I'm not saying all, are not optimized for those e-ink displays. They are slower than normal displays, of course. They are just black and white. And most of the applications are nice to play with, but I'm not sure if they're really usable. So if you turn on that device, you have your dashboard where you have your library. Of course, it's an ebook reader, so managing your ebooks on that device is, it's great. You have all the books here, you can read them, you can open them, you can annotate them, you can write notes next to the PDF you are reading. That's great, and having such a large display allows you to really read PDFs on such a mobile device. On the Kindle, it's too small, you can't read PDFs there. The same goes for your phone. So that size is pretty neat. When it comes to note taking, there are a lot of applications out there which allows you to take notes very, very good. For Android, Windows and so on, I would like to use OneNote, and that's not possible on that device. I tried that, but the lag while using the OneNote application is too big. And you write something and then you wait like a second and then you see what you wrote, and that's not something you want to use. The built-in note-taking application is not bad. It allows you to have folders, subfolders, have your notebooks in there, notebooks with multiple pages and so on. That's okay. So you can open your notebook here. You have some kind of pitch to zoom functionality. You can write your stuff here. And the lag is okay. There is a tiny lag, so the pen is a little bit faster than what you see on the screen. I'm not sure if this is because of the e-ink display or something else, but that's how it is. If you write something, that's not bad, and the writing experience on that display is pretty good. I'm sure you can't hear that, but it sounds like writing on paper. It's not, the friction is not as high as you would write with a pen on paper, but it is there. It's very nice. So it's close to writing on paper. That's pretty nice. Another thing I noticed besides that small lag is that the pen is like 1 or 2 millimeters away from the display. So if you're writing, it's sometimes hard to figure out the right point where you have to start. So you draw a rectangle and it's hard to align the edges. I mean, if you are very careful and you calibrate the display on how you're currently looking on the display, then it works. But as soon as you rotate this and you're looking a little bit in a different angle on the display, you have to slightly offset and you have to calibrate the screen again. That's how it is. If you have your notebook open, you can switch between the pages. And there's a slight lag, and I have the feeling that the more content you have on that page, the longer it takes to render the page. Might be just me, but that's what I don't like. And I have a test notebook here with just 5 pages, and I go to the overview page to see all of them, and then it starts rendering all the pages over and over again. And that's not something I like, because I want to have a quick overview of what I wrote to find a page which I'm looking for, and that's not what it can do here. I have to wait until the pages are rendered. So as you can see, I have a lot of complaints about this device. I think if you really want to do digital note-taking and nothing else, reading, and of course reading PDFs, you can do that. That's a perfect device for this. I mean, it's not inexpensive, but it works. And regarding the pen, there are other pens out there which you can use. So this might be not something which should people prevent from using those devices. But if you're in a meeting and you're taking your notes and somebody's drawing something on the whiteboard and you want to take a photo of this and put this in your notes, that's not possible because there is no camera. Just my fingerprints all over because they is sticking to that device. But by the way, while I have this in my hand, it's really thin, it's very lightweight. So actually it's a great device. But as I said, reading PDFs, annotating them, adding notes to them, that's it. If you want to export your stuff, then usually you can do this by doing this as an image or as a PDF. So I did not figure out a way to export my stuff somewhere, like to OneNote, make it editable there, do changes, and then re-import this into that device and continue drawing on those pages or writing on those pages. That's something I really miss, and that's a deal breaker. So I don't want to stick my notes just into that device. I want to have them editable basically everywhere. Alright, so let's put this aside. Nice device. Another thing I don't like on this is it turns off after a certain amount of time. Of course, you have to save energy. By default, it's 15 minutes. So if you put it aside for 15 minutes, it turns off completely. And to turn it on, that takes some time. That's a little bit annoying. But again, for having a great battery life, cool feature. So, what's the alternative? I want to have something like in this size, so a 10-inch something tablet. So Microsoft just announced the Surface Go 2, which I pre-ordered last week. They delivered it like today, and yeah, it's a Windows device. And guess what? It has OneNote, and this works pretty well. There is that drawback that you don't have an e-ink display, but you have colors. I mean, we already saw e-ink displays with color, but let's wait for 2 or 3 years until they are really usable and maybe have enough colors to make sense. This is just the LCD display, nothing else. It's a good one, but there is nearly no lag if you draw. And I was a little bit afraid that this pen and this this display is like drawing with something hard on glass, but that's not the case. The tip of this pen is something like rubber, and if you draw on this, you have some kind of friction, so it's not completely frictionless like it was, I don't know, with my Galaxy Note like 8 years ago. So you draw something and you have enough friction to make this usable. So that's great. And it's fast. You have no lag. And there is no distance between, no visible distance at least, between the tip of this pen and the actual display. So wherever I put my lines, they're exactly there where I expect them to be. Okay, there's a slight trick which they do, of course. So if you go near the tablet, you see the cursor already and you know exactly at this point I will start drawing that line. But that's great, that helps, that makes this thing exact as possible. That's great. And other than that, if I finish my notes, then I can use that tablet for whatever I like. That's basically great. And of course, the optional pen is better than the one from the Note 2. So from my point of view, I guess I will keep the Surface Go. I will have to see about battery life. I'm a little bit concerned about that. It's just arrived today. I did some updates and stuff you do if you get your tablet, and I would say the battery will hold like for 2 hours if you have this really under pressure. Let's see how it will work out if you do normal work on it, like just using it without doing some heavy stuff. So we will see. Yes, and of course, if you like, then you can just convert it into a small laptop. So overall, that's awesome. This is an awesome piece of technology, especially if you turn off the light. Then you have just the ink on that screen. You know, those e-readers. This is just a bigger one, and that's basically great because now you can just draw on it. You don't need light. You don't pollute your eyes. That's basically great. You can use a desk lamp. I really love that device. But there are too many compromises I have to make to keep it. So for now I will stick with the OneNote with the Surface 2, and let's see how this will work out. Thanks for watching.